You know that feeling when you're stuck in a grocery store line and you just want to scream? Well, imagine that line was made of dogs. That's what life was like for humans before we found our furry best friends. Dogs didn't just magically appear in our laps. They were once wild, wolf-like creatures, full of teeth, claws, and a very strong sense of smell, and a very strong dislike for humans. But then something happened. A moment so small, it's hard to believe it changed everything, like a tiny seed growing into a giant tree. It started with food. Not the kind you buy at the store, but the kind you find in the wild. A little bit of meat, a little bit of trust, and suddenly the wild dogs were no longer wild. And so the first friendship was born. Not just a bond, but a complete redefinition of what it meant to be a companion, and a reason to get up in the morning. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, we're not just talking about dogs. We're talking about the entire story of how a pack of wolves became the furry, loyal, and slightly judgmental best friends we know today. We're diving into the messy, muddy, and mostly awesome journey of domestication, from wild ancestors to the slobbery, tail-wagging companions that live in our houses and hearts. This isn't just about genetics or evolution. It's about the bond we share, the trust we build, and how dogs have somehow mastered the art of being both a therapist and a tiny, bouncy nuisance. So in this section, we're not just explaining the science, we're making it fun, weird, and honestly kind of adorable. Because who doesn't love a dog that looks like it's judging you for your life choices? We're talking about how dogs became more than just animals. They became family, co-workers, and sometimes even the reason you get up in the morning. So what are we really talking about? We're talking about the unbreakable bond between humans and dogs. A bond that's shaped the way we live, love, and even think. You think you're the boss of your dog? Let me tell you something. Your dog is basically a time-traveling, fur-covered detective who's been solving your problems since ancient times. And you're just the sidekick. Every time you bring your dog to the park, you're not just walking a pet. You're participating in a millennia-old ritual of bonding and trust. It's like a mutual pact of survival and companionship. And let's not forget the science. Dogs have been shown to reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and even help people recover from surgery faster. Your dog is basically a free therapist with a wagging tail. So next time you roll your eyes at your dog's weird behavior, remember, you're not just dealing with a pet. You're living with a creature who's been your friend, protector, and emotional support for thousands of years. So we fast forward a few thousand years, and here we are with dogs in our homes, not just our yards. They are the only animal that's been domesticated more than once, like a Netflix series that's too good to end. Back in the day, dogs were like the original Uber drivers, running ahead to bring back meat, or maybe just to show off their speed. It's like the dog version of a sprinter at a track meet, but with a bone. Over time, dogs became more than just workers. They started to be companions, and eventually we started to see them as part of the family. It's like they became the original Instagram influencers, always in the spotlight. And today, we've got over 340 dog breeds, and they're everywhere, on our laps, in our cars, and even in our dreams. It's like the dog version of a global takeover, but with more wagging tails. So in just a few thousand years, dogs went from wild wolves to our favorite, most loyal friends. They've been through the wild, the domestic, and everything in between, and honestly, they are the best. So imagine this, you're a wild dog and you're hungry. You see a human and they are holding something tasty. You go up, you bark, you wag your tail, and you get the food. That's how it all started. Over time, those dogs who were nicer to humans got more food. And guess what? Those dogs got to hang out with humans more. It was like a really good buddy system. Eventually, these dogs stopped being wild and started living with humans full time. They learned to read our moods, follow our rules, and even help us with jobs. Like, who knew a dog could be a detective or a therapy buddy? So in short, dogs became our best friends because they are really good at being nice, and humans are really good at giving them treats. It's a win-win, and we're all better for it. So how did this all start? Well, it all began with a few wild dogs who figured out that humans were kind of like a free snack bar. They'd follow us around, and guess what? We started to notice them too. These early dogs weren't just hanging out for fun. They were smart enough to realize that humans had food, tools, and even a weird habit of not eating their own poop. As these dogs got better at their jobs, humans started to treat them better, which led to a kind of mutual appreciation society. It was like the first dog-friendly workplace. And then something magical happened. These dogs started to evolve, not just physically but socially. They learned to read humans like a book, and humans learned to read dogs like a roadmap. So step one in the journey of becoming man's best friend was simply this: showing up, being useful, and being kind of adorable. And humans, being the softies they are, said you're hired. So once dogs started hanging around humans, they had to figure out how to get food. Turns out, they're pretty good at reading human faces. A wagging tail, a smile, or even a raised eyebrow can signal something's coming. Dogs learn to associate human gestures with food. If a person points, they know to go check the spot. If they make eye contact, they know they are in for a treat. This kind of communication is super advanced. Studies show dogs can tell the difference between a happy face and a sad one. It's like they've got their own emotional dictionary. And here's the kicker, humans started to like this. Dogs were reliable, friendly, and had a way of making people feel good. It's like the ultimate social media influencer for animals. So this two-way street of communication and trust is what really made dogs stick around. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving, and humans were loving it. So here's the clever twist. Dogs didn't just evolve to be nice, they evolved to be super smart. They figured out that if they could read humans, they could get what they wanted. It's like a secret handshake between species. They started to pick up on our facial expressions, our tone of voice, even our body language. It was a game of peekaboo, but with food and affection as the prize. Dogs became the ultimate social chameleons, adapting their behavior to fit the humans they lived with. It's like they're saying, I'm not just a pet, I'm your partner in crime. This ability to read us so well wasn't just about survival. It was about building trust, forming bonds, and becoming the emotional support animals we know today. So in a way, it was a mutual relationship. We gave them a home, they gave us loyalty, and in the process, they became one of the few animals that can truly understand us. So the real secret sauce is in the science, not just the love, but the evolution. Dogs evolved alongside us, adapting to our rhythms and routines, like a codependent duo who just won't split up. Genetic studies show that dogs and humans share over 99% of our DNA. That's like us being identical twins who just happen to live in different species. It's kind of creepy, honestly. And here's the kicker. Dogs are wired to form attachments. That's not just us being sentimental, it's biology. They're basically our emotional support animals, but with more tail wags. In short, the science is clear. Dogs became our best friends not just because they're cute, but because they evolved to fit into our world, and we evolved to love them back. So imagine if your favorite cereal was suddenly allowed to live in your house, eat your food, and even get a seat at the table. That's basically what dogs did to humans. They didn't ask for a job, they just showed up and started doing the work. And humans, being the softies we are, gave them a place to sleep, food to eat, and a seat at the table. In other words, dogs are the original roommates who also happen to be incredibly cute, loyal, and great at fetching things. And if that's not enough, they also evolved to be our emotional support animals, our personal trainers, and our favorite furry friends. So in the grand scheme of things, dogs are like the best roommate ever, except they never throw a party without you. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Stanley Quencher 40 Hours tumbler. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now and in the description below. Alright, back to it. So here's the kicker. Dogs didn't just become our friends by accident. They actually did something pretty clever. They started hanging out with humans not because they were nice, but because humans were dropping food everywhere. Dogs figured out that if they stayed around humans, they could eat scraps. And not just any scraps, like the best bits. The ones humans didn't even notice were still on the floor. Over time, dogs got better at reading humans. They started to anticipate needs, like knowing when you're about to go for a walk, or when you're just being extra dramatic about your coffee. This partnership wasn't just about food or convenience, it was about mutual benefit. Humans got protection, companionship, and a buddy to help with the grocery store. And dogs got, well, a whole lot of attention and snacks. So yeah, it's kind of like a very long, very friendly version of a barter system. And somehow it worked. Dogs became our best friends, not because they were perfect, but because they were smart, adaptable, and really, really good at stealing food. So here's the first myth. Dogs are just pack animals and that's why they're loyal. But let me tell you, that's like saying humans are just social animals and that's why we're obsessed with Instagram. Dogs are loyal, sure, but that's not because they are pack animals. It's because they've been selectively bred for thousands of years to be our companions, our protectors, and our emotional support squad. The real reason dogs are so loyal is because they've evolved to form deep, trusting bonds with humans, like a very enthusiastic, four-legged version of a best friend. So no, it's not just about pack instinct. It's about love, trust, and a little bit of doggo magic. And if you don't believe me, just ask your dog. They're the only one who knows. Alright, let's tackle the next myth. that dogs were domesticated because they were super smart and helpful. But here's the kicker, that's not exactly how it went down. The truth is, dogs were more like the cool kids of the animal world. They were just really good at getting along with humans, not because they were brainiacs, but because they were chill. Dogs didn't start off as assistants or guards. They were just the first animals to realize that humans had snacks and were kind, so they stuck around. So yeah, the idea that dogs were domesticated for their smarts is a myth. They were domesticated for their social skills and their love of treats. It's not about being smart, it's about being a good friend. And honestly, that's probably why we still love them so much. You probably don't notice it, but your dog's tail wagging is basically a language of its own. It's like a dog version of emojis, happy, excited, or maybe even a bit confused. And when you're on a walk, that look your dog gives you when they're about to chase a squirrel is basically a silent scream of I'm not going, I'm just looking. Your dog's ability to read your mood is like having a built-in emotional radar. They know when you're sad, stressed, or just in a good mood, even if you're not telling them. And let's not forget their obsession with your phone. They think it's a magical object that gives them treats, attention, and maybe even a spot to nap, all in one. In short, your dog's presence in your life is like having a best friend who's always there, with a tail, a bark, and a whole lot of unconditional love. I once had a dog named Max who thought he was a ninja. He'd sneak up behind me, bark like a wolf, and then just sit there waiting for a treat. One day I tried to teach him to fetch. He ran off, came back with a stick, and then decided to bury it in the neighbor's garden. I tried to train him to stay, but he'd just stare at me like I was the one who needed to stay. Eventually, I realized that Max wasn't the problem. I was the one who needed to learn how to be a better dog owner. And that's how I learned, through a dog who was way too smart for his own good. So here's the kicker, dogs aren't just cute, they're the ultimate hype squad. They've been known to do backflips for treats, chase their tails in circles for hours, and even fake being sick just to get a belly rub. And let's not forget their ability to read human emotions. They'll know when you're sad before you even cry, and they'll curl up next to you like a warm, furry therapist. They've also been used in search and rescue operations, saving lives in disasters, and even helping soldiers in war zones. They're like the ultimate four-legged superhero. And let's not forget their ability to adapt, from surviving in the Arctic to thriving in the city. Dogs are like the ultimate survivalists with a love for treats. So yeah, dogs are more than just pets. They're our partners, our therapists, our hype squad, and in some cases, our life-saving heroes. They are the real MVPs of the animal kingdom. So you think you've got a perfect dog? Think again. One day they're your best friend, the next day they're a furry tornado of chaos with a mind of their own. You try to train them, but they're not listening. They're just being a dog. It's like trying to teach a cat to do math. You're just wasting your breath. You can't even blame them. They've been around humans for thousands of years, and they've picked up a lot of our quirks, like the obsession with snacks or the need for constant attention. And then there are the times when the dog just breaks. Whether it's a sudden illness, an accident, or just a moment of pure chaos, you're left wondering what went wrong. But hey, even the worst dog moments have a silver lining. Because in the end, they're still your best friend, even if they do have a habit of knocking things over. So yeah, dogs are awesome. But let's be real, they're also a terrible roommate. They chew things, bark at nothing, and demand constant attention. And if you're not ready for that, you might end up with a very sad, very confused dog. Dogs also have this weird obsession with stealing your stuff. Your shoes, your socks, your favorite hoodie, they think it's their job to take it. And then they bring it back, looking like they're saying, I'm not sorry, I'm just doing my duty. And let's not forget the mess. They drool, they shed, they make a mess of the house, and if you're not careful, you'll end up with a dog who thinks the floor is a great place to urinate. No, really, some dogs do that. Oh, and then there's the vet visits. You know, the ones where your dog gets scared, you get stressed, and everyone ends up crying. It's like a family therapy session, but with more tears and less progress. So yeah, while dogs are amazing, they're also a lot of work. But hey, if you're up for the challenge, you'll get a best friend who's loyal, loving, and will probably steal your socks for fun. So how did humans even figure out dogs were the best friend ever? Well, let's face it, it wasn't a sudden aha moment. It was more like, hey, this thing follows me around and brings me sticks. That's weird. Dogs started hanging out with humans for food, shelter, and maybe a little bit of companionship. It's like when you start dating someone because they bring you coffee and you don't have to cook. Over time, humans realized that these dogs weren't just pets, they were partners in survival. They helped hunt, guard, and even warn about dangers. It was like a team-building exercise with a four-legged teammate. And then, of course, there was the emotional connection. dogs are just really good at reading human emotions. They know when you're sad, happy, or just need a hug. It's like they are your personal therapist with a wagging tail. So in a way, dogs were the first friends humans ever had. They were loyal, helpful, and had no idea they were about to become the most popular pet in the world. So there's this guy in Ohio who trained his dog to open a liquor store and then let the dog run it. The dog would walk up to the register, bark at the customer, and then somehow manage to pour a drink. It's like a dog version of a stock market crash, but with beer. The dog would even accept payments in the form of treats, and when customers paid with cash, the dog would just stare at them like, "What are you doing? I asked for a treat." It's like the dog's version of a scam. Eventually, the dog got kicked out of the store for being too dog-like. It would bark at the wrong customers, chase the wrong employees, and occasionally knock over the entire bar. It's like the dog was trying to be a business owner, but forgot to read the manual. Still, the story shows how dogs are just dogs. They're not born with business sense, but they are born with an ability to make humans laugh, cry, and sometimes just question their life choices. So while the dog might not be the next CEO, it's still the best friend humans ever had. Just don't let it run a liquor store. Trust me, I've seen the aftermath. What if we didn't just train dogs, but we *engineered them? Imagine a world where we bred dogs to be hyper-obedient, super affectionate, and completely dependent on us for everything. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Amazon Echo Dot 5th Gen smart speaker. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now and in the description below. All right, back to it. We'd make them crave our touch, their happiness tied to our presence. They'd beg for attention, follow us everywhere, and maybe even start speaking in broken human words. Suddenly, we're not just pets, we're emotional support animals with a built-in guilt trip button. And honestly, that's a little scary. So while it's fun to imagine, maybe we should be grateful that dogs were never bred to be our emotional slaves. They're already perfect as they are, no need for dog too. 0. In the end, dogs are our best friends, not because we trained them, but because they chose to be. And that's the real magic of the human-dog bond. Let's compare this to something you know, like how your phone is your best friend. But wait, your phone doesn't cuddle you, doesn't fetch, and doesn't apologize when it knocks over your coffee. Dogs are like the iPhone 15 of pets, smart, loyal, and somehow always in the middle of photo. They also have a built-in safety mode that automatically alerts you when you're in danger. Phones can't lick your hand, but dogs can. They also don't charge your battery when you're low. But hey, they're more loyal than any app that promises to boost your mood. Dogs don't just follow you, they adhere to you. They're like your personal GPS, your emotional therapist, and your best friend who's always ready to play. So while your phone is a tool, your dog is a teammate. They're not just in your life, they are part of your life like a second heartbeat. You know what's wild? Even today, scientists can't agree on exactly how dogs became man's best friend. It's like a long, messy debate over a dinner table, with everyone shouting over the other. Some say it was about food, others say it was about loyalty, and a few are still arguing over whether dogs were just really good at watching over campfires. It's like the ultimate dog version of I Was Here First, but with more science and less bark. So even though we have dogs curled up on our laps, the debate over how they became our best friends is still going strong. Like a dog who never learned to stop barking. But hey, if experts can't agree, maybe that's just proof that dogs are the real experts. After all, who needs science when you've got a loyal friend who knows your schedule better than your calendar? So here's the clever trick that makes it all possible. Dogs figured out how to read us, like a super advanced version of body language. They learn to pick up on our eye contact, our tone, even our little quirks. It's like they learn to speak a secret language that only we can understand. They watch us like we're the main character in their favorite show, and they're always trying to figure out what we're thinking. And guess what? They didn't just watch, they responded. They learned to mirror our emotions, to comfort us when we're sad, and to celebrate with us when we're happy. It's a whole emotional symphony, all built on a single clever trick. So, in a way, dogs became our best friends because they learned to read us like a book. They turned our random gestures into a language of love, and that's why we've never been able to let them go. That's the clever trick. Not just loyalty, not just love, but the ability to decode us. And that's what makes them truly, undeniably our best friend. A lot of new dog owners think they're getting a pet, but they're actually getting a roommate with a weird obsession with your shoes. They don't realize the dog will follow them to the bathroom, demand a snack mid-meeting, and think the fridge is a luxury resort. They also assume their dog will just chill in a corner, but the dog will instead demand a lap, a walk, and a full inspection of their day. Many forget that dogs aren't just pets. They are emotional support animals, therapists, and sometimes even the only friend you'll ever need. So yeah, if you're thinking of getting a dog, you're not getting a pet. You're getting a tiny, furry, four-legged roommate who's also your best friend. You know how sometimes you think you've got it all figured out? Well, here's the thing. Dogs didn't just become our best friends because they were nice. They became our best friends because they were *smart*. Turns out, dogs have a brain that's wired for social interaction. They're not just reacting to our emotions, they're reading our faces, our tone, even our body language like it's a textbook. They're not just reacting, they're predicting. And that's what makes them our best friend, not just a pet. They're the only animal that can read us like a book. So next time you're feeling down, remember, your dog isn't just being sweet. They're decoding your whole vibe and choosing to be there for you because they're just that good. So here's the thing. If you look at the number of years dogs have been around, they've been on this planet for about 150,000 years. That's like way longer than humans have been civilized. Compare that to humans, who have only been around for about 300,000 years. So dogs were basically here first, like the original cool kids of the animal kingdom. And yet, despite being around for so long, dogs have managed to become the most popular pet in the world. They are like the ultimate social media influencers of the animal world. So the next time you see a dog lying on your lap, remember, they've been around longer than your entire family tree. That's a lot of loyalty, and it's not even a dog year. In short, dogs are like the original humans, just cuter, more loyal and better at cuddling. And they've been doing it for way longer than you've been around. So here's the kicker, one day, a wild dog actually showed up at a human camp. Not because it was being nice, but because it was hungry and wanted food. The humans, confused but intrigued, started throwing meat scraps toward the dog. The dog didn't just eat, it waited, watched, and even brought back bones as a gift. And guess what? That wild dog didn't just stay, it started hanging out more, getting closer, and even helping with tasks like finding food or guarding the camp. This was the moment that set the stage for everything we know today. The bond between dogs and humans started here, in the wild, with a single act of trust and friendship. So here's the thing, no one ever asks why dogs don't just run away when we're mean. They're literally the only animals that put up with our terrible behavior and still love us. It's like they're saying, hey, I know you forgot my walk and left my bowl empty, but I still choose you. Every single day. Dogs don't just forgive us, they are like the emotional support pillows of the animal kingdom. They don't judge, they don't analyze, they just love. So the real question isn't why are dogs our best friends? It's why do we let them love us so much, even when we're not great at being friends back? Maybe it's not about us, it's about them. And that's why we'll always be their favorite human, even if we're not their favorite friend. So what's next? Well, dogs are getting smart, like really smart. They can now recognize hundreds of words, and some can even open doors and fetch things from across the room. Imagine a dog that can remind you to take your medication, or even alert you if someone breaks in. That's not sci-fi, that's the future of pet tech. So your dog might soon be able to tell you they're bored, or that they miss you. That's the kind of friendship we've all been waiting for. And let's not forget the fun stuff, like dogs that can play video games or even use a mouse. These aren't just pets anymore, they're partners in every sense. So the future of dogs isn't just about loyalty. It's about love, tech, and a whole new level of friendship that we're only just beginning to explore. So we know dogs are loyal, smart, and loving, but what about the weird stuff? Like, why do some dogs chase their tails? It's like a dog version of a TikTok trend, but with more zoomies and less followers. And then there's the whole why do dogs bark at nothing thing. They're basically the world's worst alarm clocks, always ready to yell at the mailman, the vacuum cleaner, or even the wind. Then there's the mystery of why dogs love to dig. Some dig for fun, some dig for food, but no one knows why a dog would dig up a perfectly good flower bed just to toss it in the air. And finally, why do dogs always seem to know when someone's coming? Like they have a sixth sense for strangers, even when you're the one who just walked in the door. So even though we've figured out a lot about dogs, there are still mysteries that make us laugh, wonder, and maybe even question our own sanity. Did you know dogs can actually smell some things we can't, like certain cancers or even low blood sugar? They're basically nature's tiny health detectives, always on the lookout for trouble. Quick word from our sponsor. If this sounds like something you'd enjoy, take a look at the Kindle Paperwhite e-reader. There's a link and a QR code on screen right now and in the description below. All right, back to it. And here's a weird one. Dogs can recognize their names from up to 2,000 feet away. That's like hearing your name across a football field and still knowing it's you. Dogs also have a third eyelid called a nictitating membrane that helps keep their eyes moist and protected. It's like a tiny hidden windshield wiper for their eyes. And finally, did you know that dogs can actually feel your emotions? They pick up on your mood through your tone, body language, and even your scent. They're like emotional GPS for your soul. So to recap, dogs started as wolves, then evolved into our best friends through a mix of survival, cooperation, and a little bit of mutual grooming. It's like they decided, hey, maybe this human isn't so bad. They learned to read our gestures, which is basically like learning to read human body language, except with more tail wags and less sarcasm. We gave them food, shelter, and a place to be part of the family. And they gave us loyalty, joy, and a reason to always carry a treat in our pockets. So in short, dogs became our best friends not just because they're cute, but because they're smart, adaptable, and weirdly good at knowing what we want before we do. And honestly, we're the ones who ended up becoming their favorite humans. That's the real story. Did you know your dog's nose is so sensitive, it can smell a teaspoon of sugar in 1,000,000 liters of water? That's like smelling a single drop of water in a whole ocean. So next time you see your dog sniffing the air like a detective, they're not just being weird. They're using a superpower you can't even imagine. So yeah, your dog is not just a pet. They're a tiny, loyal, nose-powered hero who's been helping humans for thousands of years. And that's why your dog is not just a pet. They're family, a co-worker, a therapist, and sometimes, honestly, the only reason you get out of bed in the morning. So next time you're feeling down, just remember, your dog's nose is working overtime to make sure you're happy. That's the real definition of best friends. So there you have it, dogs, the original couch potatoes, with a heart of gold and a nose for trouble. They've been our companions, our confidants, and sometimes our therapists. They've been through a lot, from ancient wolves to modern-day Instagram influencers. But they've always made it work, one wag at a time. So if you're ever feeling down, just remember, your dog is always here, ready to lick your tears, nudge your hand, and remind you that life's a little bit more fun with a wag in your heart. Thanks for watching, and remember, I'm not a dog, but I try to be the best version of a human who loves dogs. Until next time, stay curious and keep wagging. Oh, and if you want to see more of my dog's antics, you know where to find me in the comments, in the inbox, or just in my heart. Before you go, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments what you'd like us to make next. We read every single one. Thank you so much for watching. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.